Greetings. This is Mike Eisenberg offering a series of vodcasts sponsored by ABC-CLIO. This is the fourth in the series. The series is focused on the topic of information literacy and the implementation of information literacy programs in schools, primarily K through 12. This one is a little different than the others. The others are focused on what is information literacy, the Big Six process, accountability, implementation. And this one I want to really focus in particular on the role of the teacher-librarian and the school library program and how we're in a crisis situation, and there's even what some of us have called for is a revolution in school libraries, in library programs, and in the role of the library professional. And that's what I'm going to talk about in this vodcast, number 4. When I talk about it as a crisis and as a revolution being necessary to overcome it, what do I mean by that? And what I mean is, in case you haven't noticed, there have been tough economic times out there, and in schools when they've had to make cuts, one of the areas they've been looking at and making some pretty dramatic cuts are in school libraries. And the rationale for that has been that the school library is not direct instruction, it's not direct classroom. We want to keep those class numbers low, and that the school library program, while valued and important, it's not necessarily essential. Now, I'm not saying that, but school boards across the country have said that. And to me, that's a crisis. And what I like to have us think about, it's like the parable of the frog. You know the frog? And that is, if you have a pot of boiling water and you're going to cook something up, and you take a frog and you throw it in the pot of boiling water, that frog is going to jump out real quick, right? But if you start with a pot of tepid water and you put that frog in there, you might sit back and whatever, and you slowly heat it up and slowly heat it up, and over time, what do you get? You get poached frog. And I think that's what's happened in the school library field. We've kind of had these slow incremental cuts, and what we have now are poached libraries. We have, in many cases, no professionals or drastically cut back professionals. And I think part of that, and I've heard the excuse or the charge that, well, what we need to do is do a better job of getting our message out. We need to do a better job of public relations. And while that might be true, I don't see that as the central problem and the central concern. I think the concern may be us, that we look out there and what's the problem? The problem are us. And the problems are that we have programs that are unclear in vision and focus. We have programs that vary greatly from school to school and a district, and from district to district. You know what you get in a math class. You don't know necessarily what you get in a library program from school to school. We have programs that are supportive, that make a contribution, but are they truly essential? We have programs that may not be tied to the day-to-day instructional mandates and the priorities of the schools and the districts. And we have programs that are not accountable in terms of student achievement. So we also, and lastly, are perceived, rightly or wrongly, as tied to old approaches and old technologies. For example, when I hear people talk about technology in education today and the move to digital and all that stuff, and I know lots of teacher librarians that are very involved with that, I also hear them saying, but don't forget about print, don't forget about books. Now, I agree, print is not going anywhere. Books aren't going anywhere. Text is important, but for the teacher librarian to still be tied to the traditional technologies of print and books, instead of being seen as the champion of the modern, of the cutting edge, I think is partly where the problem is. So these are some of the things that I think are lending us to a situation where we have endangered school libraries and teacher librarians. So what's the solution? To me, the solution is a makeover. Maybe it becomes a new reality show on television or something, and that is a makeover of our library programs so that they are very clear and powerful in terms of their vision, that they are super strategic in terms of the program and the implementation of the program, and that they continuously communicate their message in every venue and using any means. So I have a webinar lined up in the future for ABC-CLIO, and this is the title: Teacher-Librarian Wake-Up Call, Ensuring that you keep your job by designing, developing, and delivering a comprehensive, predictable, and accountable information literacy skills program. That's kind of what I'm talking about, something that is hard-hitting and essential and direct. I've also come up with a to-do list on this, a to-do list for teacher librarians and the things that they need to do in order to transform our programs, our image, to transform how we are perceived and actually what we deliver, the makeover. So here's the to-do list. The first thing is get an attitude. And that is, this is not optional. You know, I talk about my grandkids, Leah and Logan, and I care about those kids more than just about anything in the whole world. But they're in school now, so it's your job as well to help them to fulfill themselves. And information literacy is right at the center of what they need to do. If all they can do is achieve really high on reading or writing, that's not enough. They need to be able to achieve high on the full set of information literacy skills. Secondly, embrace the brand, the mission, and the function. Folks, the brand today is not school librarian. That has, you know, traditional connotations and baggage and positive and negative. The brand, at the very least, is teacher librarian, emphasizing that role as a teacher and as an engaged person with a curriculum. The third part of the checklist is, the brand is also, besides teacher librarian, it's not the school library. It's not the school library program. What we've come up with in the Northwest is the Library Information and Technology Program. Library Information Technology Program. Library ties us to our traditions and what we do. Information, sexy word at the center of our society. Technology, equally sexy, that really has this cutting edge orientation and focus, and that's what we want to do. Third thing on the to-do list, and this is an action item for today, and that form your library information and technology advisory team in your school. You need a team of some of the movers and shaker teachers and administrators to help decide on the priorities of the program and how that's going to be implemented and delivered. Right now, 90% or more of school library programs are defined and planned by the teacher librarian in isolation. My library and information technology program ain't mine. It's the school's. So we need active library information and technology programs where the priorities are set by the Library Information and Technology Advisory Team. Use the team to determine your realistic priorities for the mission and the functions of the program. So what's the mission? The mission is, and it's a wonderful mission, and it's been articulated by the national standards, to ensure that students are effective users and producers of ideas and information. You should say that 3 times with passion, to ensure that students are effective users and producers of ideas and information. To ensure, the ensure word, this is essential, so we got to make sure it happens. To ensure that students are effective users of information, and the Joyce Valenza edit to add in producers of information and ideas. That's what we're about. And we do it in 3 ways, right? We do it through information literacy instruction, we do it through reading advocacy, and we do it through information management and services. And the breakdown of that, think of a pie chart. What percentage of the program is information literacy? What percentage of the program is information management and services? What percentage of the program is reading advocacy? Well, that should be decided by the Library Information and Technology Advisory Team. They're the ones that should help decide that. I call that planning pie chart planning. And that's one of the things on the checklist that you need to do right away to engage with the advisory team in pie chart planning. Next item on the checklist, focus on accountable information skills, information literacy instruction. Again, I had a previous vodcast on this talking about comprehensive, predictable, measured, and reported information skills, information literacy program. In order to do this, we need to rethink what we're doing now. So the next thing on the checklist is we need to rethink our approach. For example, are you in a school where there are 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 students and one professional? Well, are you trying to teach? You really can't teach in that situation. You need to be more of a manager. So you need to think your approach more. Are you more of a deliverer of instruction or a manager of instruction? So that's one thing we need to rethink. We need to rethink the sacred cows that we do over and over that take up a lot of time and effort. Do we need to do those? I'll give you one. Overdues. How many of you spend time on overdues and you do it every 2 weeks? Want to save some time? Make overdues monthly. That's not enough? Make it every 2 months. That's not enough? Do away with overdues. Don't worry about it. Another sacred cow you're not going to like, your online catalog. How much time and effort do we spend and money on that? Most elementary schools, you don't even need an online catalog. Kids can go right to the shelves. Just put out the Dewey signs and teach them Dewey. And then they can go find their materials. Now, I'm not advocating for all of these sacred cows that they be eliminated, but I want you to rethink them. I want you to rethink inventory. Do we really need to still do our inventories? Do we need to do it every year? Can it be rolling? How much time and effort do we spend on that? And even collections. We can think about, do we really need to do unique and individual collection development in every school on every level? I mean, in a particular district, shouldn't all of the elementary schools have about a 75% common collection? Anyway, my point is, what do you do that you don't need to do or that you could cut back on so that you can do information literacy instruction, you can do reading advocacy, you can do information management and services. So, last thing that I'll suggest that's on the checklist, I say to smile and to have fun with this, because this is really cool stuff. This is why we got into this in the first place, right? There's nothing better than being a teacher librarian in an engaged, active program where you're rocking and rolling with the kids and the faculty and the community. There's absolutely nothing better. There's no job better on the planet. And we know that. But we need to do it now in a way that is accountable, that makes a difference, and that is essential. So again, the bottom line is this is not optional. Get that attitude. Embrace the mission to ensure that students are effective users and producers of ideas and information. Form that lit advisory team. Make your pie chart planning and go out and have a great program. That's what we can do to help our kids to be more effective and successful in the 21st century. And that's for Leah and that's for Logan. Thank you very much. I appreciate ABC-CLIO giving me the opportunity to present this, and I thank you for taking the time to view and listen. This is Mike Eisenberg signing off.